Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Ashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So today we'll continue our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, ninth chapter, answers by citing the Lord's version, text number 38 onwards. Shri Shukavacha Sampradishyam Ajano Jnanam Parameshtinam Pashyatastasya Tadrupam Atmanonyarunadhari. Shukdev Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, after being seen in his transcendental form, instructed Brahmaji, the leader of the living entities. Then he disappeared. In this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the Lord is Ajanaha, or the Supreme Person, and that he was showing his transcendental form, Atmano Rupam, to Brahmaji, while instructing him in the summarization of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses. So here Prabhupada is specifically mentioning here that the Supreme Lord has a transcendental form and is Ajana. Ajana means he's not a person of this material world, he's a person of spiritual world. He's a transcendental person, a supreme person. He is Ajana, or the supreme person amongst Jananam, or all persons. All living entities are individual persons, and amongst all such persons, Lord Hari is supreme, as confirmed in the Shruti mantra Nitya Nityanam Chetnas Chetnanam. So there is no place for impersonal features in the transcendental world, as there are impersonal features in the material world. Whenever there is Chetna or knowledge, the personal feature comes in. And in the spiritual world, transcendental world, everything is Chetan, everything is conscious. So there has to be a person. In the spiritual world, everything is full of knowledge, and therefore everything in the transcendental world, the land, the water, the tree, the mountain, the river, the man, the animal, the bird, everything is of the same quality, namely Chetan or conscious. And therefore, everything there is individual and personal. Everything there is personal. Srimad Bhagavatam gives us this information as a supreme Vedic literature, and it was personally instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Brahmaji, so that the leader of the living entities might broadcast a message to all in the universe in order to teach the supreme knowledge of Bhakti Yoga. So this knowledge is personally given by Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, to Brahmaji, so that the leader of the living entity, which is Brahmaji, might broadcast the message to all in the universe. This is the job of a person who receives the knowledge. Brahmaji, in his turn, instructed Narad, his beloved son, the same message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Narad, in his turn, taught the same to Vyasadeva, who again taught it to Shukdev Goswami. Through Shukdev Goswami's grace and by the mercy of Maharaj Parikshit, we are all given Srimad Bhagavatam perpetually to learn the science of the absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. So this Bhagavatam, this knowledge is coming down in Parampara, and this is what we are receiving it. Text 39. Antarhitendriyarthaya hare vihitanjalihi sarvabhutamayo vishvam sasarjedam sapurvat. On the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the senses of devotees, Brahma, with folded hands, began to recreate the universe, full with living entities as it was previously. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is the object for fulfilling the senses of all living entities. Illusioned by the glaring reflection of the external energy, the living entities worship the senses instead of engaging them properly in fulfilling the desires of the Supreme. So, Hari, Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the senses of devotees. He is a real object, but even though forgetting him or not acknowledging him, not being grateful to him, if we still try to enjoy our senses, it's Krishna only who gives the um, energy or gives us the intelligence how to do that. So this is what Prabhupada is saying. Illusion by the glaring reflection of the external energy, illusion by Maya of Krishna, which is the external energy, we're trying to worship the senses. We're trying to worship the senses, our senses, or worship here means trying to satisfy our senses instead of serving him. And in return, our senses will get satisfied. Senses will get lots of enjoyment. But this is where we make the mistake. In the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, there is following verse. O devotee of the Lord, the purpose of this visual sense is fulfilled simply by seeing you, and to touch your body is the fulfillment of bodily worth. The tongue is meant for fulfilled by glorifying your qualities, because in this world, a pure devotee of the Lord is very difficult to find. Originally, the senses of the living entity were awarded for this purpose only, namely to engage them in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, or that of his devotees. But the conditioned souls, illusioned by the material energy, became captivated by sense enjoyment. Therefore, the whole process of God consciousness is meant to rectify the conditional activities of the senses and to re engage them in the direct service of the Lord. So, the whole process of God consciousness is to rectify the conditional activities of the senses. Means, instead of engaging the senses, engaging our body in service of the senses, we have to engage these senses in service of the Lord, or engaging the senses in service of other senses, like hand we use in satisfying the mouth, then the hand is not used properly. If the hand is used in satisfying Krishna, in return Krishna will satisfy all the senses. That's a perfect use of the hand. Lord Brahma thus engaged his senses in the Lord by recreating the conditioned living entities to act in the recreated universe. So this is like one of Lord Brahma's thankless job. He doesn't want to do it, to bring the living entities, to give them the body again here. And so he knows this body that we get is not worth it, actually. It's not something that we should be getting. And this body is a source of misery, is a source of illusion. But we think I will get lots of pleasure through this body. This material universe is thus created and annihilated by the will of the Lord. It's created to give the conditioned soul a chance to act, to return home back to Godhead. And servants like Brahmaji, Naradji, Vyasji, and their company become busy with the same purpose of the Lord, to reclaim the conditioned souls from the field of sense gratification and return them to the normal stage of engaging the senses in service of the Lord. Instead of doing so, that is, converting the actions of the senses, the impersonalists began to make the conditioned souls senseless, and also the Lord also senseless. So the impersonalists would say, Brahm Satya Jagan Mithya. And Jagan Mithya means everything that is here in the material world is false. Even the senses are false. So for what to speak of sense gratification. So everything is false. It's a lie, according to them. But the senses are there, and these senses are bothering me. These senses want sense gratification. But they say, no, this is all false. This is all Maya. We say It's not Maya. Of course, it is Maya in the sense that we are using it in our service. We are using everything that we have in the service of these senses. So in that way, it is Maya. If we use everything that we have in service of Krishna, then it becomes Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya, then we get connected with Krishna. There is a yoga, there is a link, there is a communion. But this part, Mayavadis cannot understand. That is the improper treatment for the conditioned souls. The diseased condition of the senses may be treated by curing the defect, but not uprooting the senses altogether. When there is some disease in the eyes may be cured to see properly. Plucking out the eyes is no treatment. Similarly, the whole material disease is based on the process of sense gratification, and liberation from the diseased condition is a re engagement of the senses to see the beauty of the Lord, hear his glories, and act on his account. Thus, Brahmaji created the universal activities again. So, Brahmaji, although he creates or recreates under the direction, under the order of the Lord, but his whole purpose is, or Krishna's purpose also is, that this material world is a chance for us to get rectified and then act properly and then go back home, back to Godhead. So that's why Brahmaji creates the universal activities again. Text 40. प्रजापतिर धर्मपतिर एकदा नियमान यमान भद्रम प्रजानाम अन्विच्छम आतिष्ठत स्वार्थ काम्यया. Thus, once upon a time, the forefather of living entities and the father of religiousness, Lord Brahma situated himself in the acts of regulative principles, desiring self interest for the welfare of all living entities. One cannot be situated in an exalted position without having undertaken a regulative life of rules and regulations. An unrestricted life of sense gratification is animal life. And Lord Brahma, in order to teach all concerned within the jurisdiction of his generations, taught the same principles of sense control for executing higher duties. So this austerity, tapasya, penance, it started with Brahmaji himself, the first person of the universe. And to do what? Principle of self-control for executing higher duties. He desired the welfare of all as servants of God, and anyone desiring the welfare of the members of his family and generations must conduct a moral, religious life. The highest life of moral principles is to become a devotee of the Lord, because a pure devotee of the Lord has all the good qualities of the Lord. So this is the real morality. Just like we talk about morality these days, or people do talk about them in books and in scriptures, and say morality is, one part of morality is thou shalt not steal others' property. And they say you have to be a moral person. This is morality. This is the barometer of morality. Don't steal other person's property. But now, if you look at it from higher perspective, haven't we stolen Krishna's property? What do we mean by stealing Krishna's property? If we, whatever property, whatever assets he has given us, if we don't use them in his service, isn't it stealing? This is complete stealing. And this is immoral, according to the person's own definition. But we actually take it for granted, whatever Krishna has provided us. That's why we don't even consider that as stealing. But Bhagavad Gita says so. Stena eva hi sa. Stena means thief. If we don't use whatever we got in service of Krishna, then It even says in service of demigods, because we get it from demigod. Demigods are in charge of different departments of the material universe, but they get the power, or they get appointed by Krishna only, or Krishna or Lord Vishnu on those positions. So the idea is to understand that everything comes from Krishna. Everything has to be used in service of Krishna. And if we don't do that, then we are morally completely wrong. Then we are a thief. Even though we don't covet others' material property, maybe somebody else's money or car or a house or wife, if you don't covet that, but still, if you're not using whatever we got in service of Krishna, and whatever we got includes the body, the mind, the intelligence, the qualifications, the capabilities, the strength, everything that we have is property of Krishna. So that's the highest principle of morality. And using that in service of Krishna with all the love, that is a real moral principle. Not just we are using it in his service by force. We have to use it in his service with love, because this is what he wants. That is morality. On the other hand, one who is not a devotee of the Lord, however qualified he may be in the mundane sense of the term, cannot be qualified with any good quality worthy of the name. The pure devotees of the Lord, like Brahma and persons in the chain of disciplic succession, do not do anything to instruct their subordinates without acting accordingly themselves. So Lord Brahma and Prabhupada says, pure devotees of the Lord, like Brahma and persons in the chain of disciplic succession. So they not only preach, but they also teach by their example. So achar and prachar at the same time. But those who are not devotees, they don't have any good qualities. Of course, um, from Bhagavatam perspective, but it's always good to develop, at least come to the mode of goodness, or try to come to the mode of goodness and develop those qualities. And slowly, it's a slow process. It's not a process of one lifetime. And even if somebody who is seemingly is not a devotee, but he has those good qualities, we can, in one way, infer that maybe he has done some devotional service in previous lifetimes. So he got these qualities. Now it is our duty to very intelligently preach to him and to everybody else. Actually, we have to preach, but without disturbing them, without disturbing their faith in whatever they're doing. And somehow, very intelligently, we have to engage them in the service of Krishna. So that's all. That's all we have to do. And this is what pleases Krishna. If we try to bring more and more of his lost sons and daughters in his service, that is what will please Krishna. Text 41. Tam Narada Priyatamo Riktadhananam Anuvritah Sushushamana Shilena Prashrena Damena Chaha. Narad, the most dear of the inheritor sons of Brahma, always ready to serve his father, strictly follows the instructions of his father by his mannerly behavior, meekness, and sense control. Text 42. Mayam Vividasan Vishnur Mayeshaya Mahamani Mahabhagavato Rajan Pitaram Paraya Toshayat Pitram Paratosh. Narad very much pleased his father and desired to know all about energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies, for Narad was the greatest of all sages and greatest of all devotees, O king. Now he wants to know all about the energies of Vishnu. Lord Brahma, being the creator of all living beings in the universe, is originally the father of several well known sons like Daksha, the Chatushanas, and Narad in three departments of human knowledge disseminated by the Vedas, namely fruitive Karma Kanda, transcendental knowledge, Jnana Kanda, and devotional service, Upasana Kanda. Devarshi Narad inherited from his father Brahma devotional service, whereas Daksha is Prajapati, inherited from his father fruitive work, and Sanak, Sanatan, etc., inherited from their father information about Jnanakanda or transcendental knowledge. But out of them all, Narad is described here as the most beloved son of Brahma because of good behavior, obedience, meekness, and readiness to render service unto the Father. So this was Narad Muni's wonderful quality that he was ready. He was good. He had good behavior. He was obedient, meek, humble, ready to render service to his father. Chatu Kumars, four Kumaras, from very first day, they refused to follow the order of Brahman. And Daksha also, we'll see how he once in the yajna where he insulted Shiva, he also insulted, sort of insulted his father also. But Narad Muni never, he never does. And Narad is famous as the greatest of all sages because of his being the greatest of all devotees. Narad is a spiritual master of many famous devotees of the Lord. He is a spiritual master of Prahlad, Dhruv, and Vyas, down to the forest animal hunter, Virat. His only business is to turn everyone to the transcendental, loving service of the Lord. Therefore, all these features of Narad make him the dearmost son of his father. And all this is due to Narad's being a first class devotee of the Lord. So, see, Narad being the first class devotee of the Lord, he becomes very dear to his father. And see, his qualities, he was obedient, humble, meek. So, devotee doesn't mean when we meet our father, of course, father might not be, apparently be a devotee, father, mother, or any of our relatives, but we have to show the qualities of a devotee. We have to act according to it like a devotee. Then the people will at least have a favorable attitude towards devotional service. Even if they don't take it up right away, but at least let them have a favorable attitude so that sooner or later they'll also take it up. But if we act like I'm holier than thou, or we become fanatic about our philosophy, about our knowledge, about our being engaged in service of the Supreme Lord, Krishna Himself, and so many points to be proud of. But if we show it that way, then who would want to be like a devotee? Who would want to become a devotee and who would want to associate with a person like that? Look at Srila Prabhupada himself. Prabhupada, a pure devotee, Mahabharata, when he went to New York, how he treated his, uh, I won't say disciples, his followers who were coming to see him, who were coming to listen to him in the classes. And not just in the beginning, throughout, how he treated them. And Prabhupada had all the reasons to become so proud. I mean, look at all the purpose that he has, how much knowledge he had. Not just the purpose, even go through his letters, go through his interviews, go through his conversations with his disciples. So much he had. So much he had. But still, how he treated everybody with so much of love and compassion. That is a real devotee. And this is a Prabhupada writing. This is why Narad Muni was very dear to Brahmaji, because he had all these good qualities. Same thing, Prahlad Maharaj, he was very dear to Hiranyakashipu. Of course, the only mistake, according to Hiranyakashipu, was that Prahlad Maharaj took the name of Vishnu. That's all. But still, even though he was uh, plotted to be killed by Hiranyakashipu, even though Hiranyakashipu was angry at him and threw him from his lap, and Hiranyakashipu did everything, but Prahlad Maharaj never stopped respecting his father. Never. He would always stand there with folded hands. And of course, he never got deviated from the philosophy either. But he would always answer very respectively to his father. That's a devotee. Devotees are always anxious to know more and more about the Supreme Lord, the Master of all energies. The Supreme Lord is unlimited, and his energies are also unlimited. No one can know them completely. Brahmaji, being the greatest living entity within this universe, and being directly instructed by the Lord, must know more than anyone within this universe, although such knowledge may not be complete. That is, thus, it is a duty of everyone to ask about the unlimited Lord from the spiritual master in the disciplic succession of Brahma, which descends from Narada to Vyasa, from Vyasa to Shukdev, and so on. So we all have this um, right and duty. This is our responsibility to ask about Krishna as much as we can. We should, more and more. But that's only possible if we are surrendered and we find a bona fide spiritual master and we go surrender to him, serve him, and then we should ask questions. And look how Narad Muni is asking all these questions. Complete humility, not in a mode of challenging Brahmaji. So anyway, I'll stop here. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.